So welcome to another video from theplayersaid.com. My name's Alexander.
And I'm Grant.
And today we are driving home from Buckeye Game Fest 2024. And thought we'd kind of do our little con debrief here in the car, because I think we're very busy next week as well, doing more videos and stuff like that. So we're going to make use of a car video, but it's for our con debrief. So I just kind of wanted to take some time to kind of discuss what we did at Buckeye Game Fest, kind of what you might experience if you decide to come here, which I definitely would recommend.
I think it's the best little gaming convention in the Midwest, frankly.
Yeah, so it's Buckeye Game Fest. It's held in Columbus, Ohio every year. It's at the kind of Hyatt Regency Hotel. They got a bunch of conference rooms. And, you know, there's regular board gaming that goes on. I think they have about 150 attendees or so, sometimes more. But they also have what's called the War Room, and that's primarily what we go for.
And there's no fighting in the War Room.
No. Or the fighting is very genteel. So the War Room is open for like the whole week before. So, you know, players can do things like really long OCS games. Last year there was like Labatai games going on that take a long time. And then this year, kind of the big game going on was Great Battles of the American Civil War, Dead of Winter.
From GMT, right?
Yeah, which they were playing that the whole week. Massive long game. And they at least played it for 3 or 4 days straight. And
I saw Ardwolf was playing. Was he in it the whole time, or was he just kind of jumping in?
No, he was in it the whole time. They had 4 players, and it was 2 on each kind of side of the battle, so that was neat. But so you could attend the con for that kind of thing, but kind of we show up for that last weekend, a couple of days before, and that's when the majority of kind of regular people show up who aren't doing that dedicated wargaming stuff. And so we decided we'd go kind of Wednesday evening through Sunday morning this year. If you watched our video from last year, we did that extra day. So we were there very early on Tuesday, well, in the afternoon. And so we were there basically most of Tuesday and then all of Wednesday. And then we left on Sunday morning. And I needed to lie down for a week after that. It was it was too much.
Going one day less, I definitely feel better this morning. Like
yes.
I'm tired, but
yeah.
I'm not that tired.
So,
which is good.
But that was, you know, that was a learning experience, because I think that was the longest we've gone to any con, potentially.
WBC, we kind of do the same. We
Similar.
Tuesday to Sunday.
But we run lots of different events and are often teaching lots of games, especially at Buckeye Game Fest, where there's an option to organize a bit more, and so we're kind of switched on, and that was very tiring last year. So this year we did 1 day less, and I'm grateful that we did, but it was wonderful. It was to get to see all your friends again, because it is a small convention. I think the War Room at its peak had anywhere from like 40 to 50 people in it.
And we know at least half of those people. Because
this is our 4th year coming here,
yep.
I think. And a lot of them are locals, or it's our friends, we see them. Even just like year after year after year, we kind of know almost everyone who's there now. And that makes it, a really friendly, a really intimate convention where it's like, hey, you just say hi to everyone. Oh, everyone's a really nice, chat to everyone.
Yeah.
And I really, really like that for it.
Well, and everyone's there to play games.
Yes.
They want to play games. They're looking to play games. There's not a lot of shopping. You know, the only vendor really that was there for the War Room was Blue Panther.
Yeah, which is nice, because they have a really large variety of games.
Yep, but we're there to play games.
Yeah, they're over in that corner. It's not a trade show, really. Like, yeah. It's just, let's play some games. And everyone, you know how us gamers are. Everyone brings a sack of 20 games.
And we played 5 of them.
And so everyone's excited to play all their games, and they want to play them. And so it's just everyone's playing. And even within the War Room, you'll see a really large variety of different historical games, conflict simulation games, all sorts of different things we saw going on. And again, that's one of the things I love about BGF. It's just, even though it's not the biggest convention out there, I think almost more gaming gets done there than a lot of other conventions out there.
Yeah.
Which is
Well,
really
and
fun.
it is, once again, it's one of those gaming conventions. And I would compare it more to WBC than, say, Gen Con or
Yeah.
Origins.
Oh, without question.
And it's similar, I think, in feel and intimacy to our first attendance at San Diego Historicon.
Yes.
The difference there at SD HisCon was there were 15 designers.
Yeah, and I think they have that really cool, like the, what did we call that? Well, they had the conference room where they were given lectures and seminars
panels
and stuff.
and that kind of thing.
That was kind of their, pretty unique thing, which I thought was really nice. But I think the feel of, especially the gaming area, very similar to that.
But I would say, I mentioned SD HisCon has more designers. There were a lot of designers there. Herman Lettman came this year, partly because he's our friend, but partly because he is doing games with Blue Panther.
Yes.
He had several of his prototype games. Also, we played several of his published and completed games with him, which was fantastic. We'll talk about those.
Fun.
But, there were others. Dave Shaw and Ryan Heilman of Brave Little Belgium fame. Wes Crawford, who's doing the Engine Thief game, and now the Hunt for John Wilkes Booth, the Assassin of Abraham Lincoln.
Ken Reppel was there.
Ken Reppel was there. He did the War of 1812 from Compass that we still haven't played, but it's gorgeous. Tim Densham was there.
Of Catastrophe Games.
Yep. And we met a new guy this year, John Lapham, who is doing a very cool Twilight Struggle comparable card-driven game on the ratification of the Constitution.
Yes.
And it's called A More Perfect Union. We'll talk about that here in a little bit, but it was nice to see half a dozen different designers, which was cool.
Well, and even our friend Russ Wetley, he's designing his own game, and he had it, and I saw him demoing it and playing. That was really neat to see as well.
Yep.
I think the one thing we missed was David Thompson. He lives in Ohio. He's usually there, and I don't know if he showed up or if
we've
he did,
decided.
We missed.
The last time we saw him was about 2 months ago. We decided over the 2-month period, he's become a jerk.
Yes.
Somehow he completely switched his DNA, and he's now a jerk.
Well,
just kidding. We love you. We missed you, though.
David's also a design robot, so maybe he switched his programming rather than his DNA.
Right.
But yeah, that was a shame we missed him. But Gary from Oddwolf's Lair was there, so it's always nice for a gregarious individual. But it was good to see him again, even though he was playing his game and yelling at a bunch of people during the American Civil War.
He is loud.
I even talked to him about that. I wasn't calling him out, but he was like, I have 2 volumes, loud and very loud. He was complaining about UPS, so it was very passionate.
He's a very passionate guy. Passionate both about OCS and anything else that he is experiencing at the time. But yeah, good to see him. We saw Brant from Armchair Dragoons.
Yes.
Russ Wetley is with Cardboard Conflicts. Were there any other?
So Ed Bryant was there.
Yep.
He works for Mr. B Games. They're the ones who just did the new Ace of Aces Kickstarter.
Reprint, yep.
And they got a couple other things going on, as well as more Ace of Aces in the future.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a number of, Steve Jones was there from Blue Panther, Steve Panther, Steve Blue, you get it.
And all his retinue of people who...
His underlings.
Right. His sons and then his developers, so they're really kicking it up a notch and doing just a ton of games. But
and that's just the war room, right? There's like a whole other main gaming room and some overflow, and there's spaces for RPGs that people do that go on. If you want to kind of mix and match, or if you want to just do that kind of more Euro or traditional board gaming, that's all there as well.
And then there's Artemis Bridge Simulator, which we didn't do this year.
We also didn't do it last year.
So fun.
Yeah, Gary was like, oh, do you want to do it? And it was the time where we were running our RPG, and I was like, no, because I really want to. It's so fun. But that's a great opportunity to do it because it costs nothing.
Yeah.
It's free. You just sign up for a slot. Whereas I did it at Gen Con one year, and it was like, the ticket was like $24. It's stupid.
And I did not do it with you that year because I think I had to work or something, but...
I don't know if... I don't think we did it. No, we did do it. We did do it.
Last year?
No, not last year. I was thinking that the Gen Con where we did it was like 2013, so I have a very hazy memory of,
it was a long
of
time.
what it was. But yeah, that's something that's available, and I want to do that next year for sure. But I had a wonderful time, and so we'll just kind of go through as chronologically as we can remember, which should be fine.
This is dangerous.
Yes, but we talked about it last night, and I think I remember kind of what we did, because we arrived on the Wednesday evening after work.
I think we pulled in about 6:30.
Yeah, which it's a short drive for us compared to what some other people were doing, that's for sure. Kind of got ourselves acclimated, had some dinner, and I think that night we got together with Russ and Bill, and we played Dutch Resistance Orange Shall Overcome from Liberation Games, and there's probably, by the time this is released, there's probably a review on the channel of this already. We'd already played it a couple times before we brought it here. We played it 2-player. It's this cooperative Dutch resistance game in 1940, World War II is what we'll say. And it's so good.
Yeah.
And we wanted to bring it here and play it 4-player just to see what that was like. Equally as good.
I actually enjoyed it a little bit more.
I think I'm inclined to agree.
To me, the 4-player mode really reinforced the need to cooperate and trade off resources and work together better. Whereas with just the 2 of us, we did a little of that, but we were sometimes at the opposite end of the board.
More like, I got to go do my stuff, you got to do your stuff. And it's a bit more of efficiencies. And it's a game of efficiencies, but like you said, with 4 players, you also get more different special abilities.
Yeah.
And those special abilities come from theme and character archetypes and, what kinds of things were needed or leaned on by the Resistance historically. I just love that game. It's just really good. I think about it all the time.
It's a fun and interesting historical game.
Yes.
Not a war game in any way, shape, or form like we normally see.
Yeah, you're not fighting.
Right.
It's trying to evade fighting, if anything.
Evading the guards and the police. But you hit the nail on the head. The character uniqueness is, to me, one of the better parts.
Yeah.
I played a guy that was a publisher of a newspaper, and he would drop these little tokens around the board as he moved, and they would give my friends bonuses.
Yeah.
And very valuable bonuses. You had to spend an action to pick them up. And that's okay, but it was worth it sometimes.
If the police found the illegal newspapers very bad,
we got hit.
And it's such a simple mechanic, but it was really cool, and it was very tense at times. Yeah, and
but having that uniqueness and having 10 different characters in that game, every mission is going to be different. There are 5 missions. I think there are 4 difficulty levels for each of those missions, like easy, normal, hard, and insane, or something. But 4 different modes, 5 different scenarios, 10 different characters. You do the permutations, but I'm sure that's 100 different ways to play the game.
And the game has 5 scenarios. I think it's 5. And we've played 3 of them so far, and they have all been
totally different,
wildly different.
Yep.
And even within that, so the scenario we played at Buckeye Game Fest, you have to complete 2 tasks, but those 2 tasks are chosen randomly between 5 subtasks. So even that mission alone has a very large number of permutations as well. Like, I was honestly, as we've played that a number of times now, we're kind of blown away about how much I like that game. It's really, really good.
So that is coming to GameFound as of May 7th. They are reprinting the first edition because it sold out.
Yes.
I think it sold out way faster than Marcel thought it would.
Yes.
So he's doing a reprint GameFound crowdfunding, but he's also adding an expansion. Now, we did not get the expansion. I don't particularly know a lot about the expansion or what it is, but frankly looking forward to it because it's going to bring, I'm sure, new and interesting stuff to the game.
And even if at minimum all it did was a couple scenarios, a couple more characters, and a couple more halt cards, that would be plenty for me.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it'll do more than that, but it doesn't take much to grow what the game can do.
But I do think Bill and Russ both enjoyed it significantly, and I thought we had a great time. Played in about 2 hours. And it was fun, right?
And it was 2 hours, and it went the whole that whole time.
Yep.
I think the ones we'd lost much earlier,
like in the third round,
or we won it much earlier. So that was interesting. It was a very different game, that's for sure. I think that's all we did on Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
I think we just kind of chatted and hung out, went to bed. So then Thursday morning, we kind of got up, and then we kind of sat down, started doing some of our Players Aid stuff. So we chatted with Steve Jones from Blue Panther. So there's an interview coming with him soon. Kind of had a chat with some different people. But that morning we spoke to John Lapham, I think is what his name is.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's designing a game that's called A More Perfect Union.
And it's coming from Catastrophe Games.
Yes.
And he mentioned that while he didn't have a firm timeline, he thought it would be possibly late this year on whatever they're going to do, Kickstarter or GameFound, and probably would publish next year.
So Catastrophe is the publisher. They print their games through Blue Panther, so that's part of that. So we did do an interview with him, so that you can look forward to that. But we demoed his game.
We actually played the whole game.
We played the whole game start to finish. And you'd mentioned earlier, it's one of those Twilight Struggle style card-driven games. And there's a number of those out there. This one was so clean, and it was really good. And it's about the ratification of the
U.S. Constitution. Yeah.
So you have some people who just want to ratify it as is, and then you have the what they call anti-federalists, and they're the ones who want to make amendments to it, which eventually become the Bill of Rights. And so no one's really the bad guys necessarily.
It's just a difference of opinion on how it should be done.
So I thought that was interesting, just from that philosophical standpoint. But it's about playing cards for either events or ops to influence states and their opinions on it. But you also, the way that the resolution of those or the scoring happens is you have a convention to ratify that for that state.
Yeah, so you actually have a convention card in your hand that acts as the scoring cards do in Twilight Struggle, where when you play that, you take a state off the board, put it over to the convention, and then it's going to make its way through that process.
Yeah, and so you've got, if nothing crazy happens, you've got 2 turns, and we up to that track, and then it will score.
Yeah.
So being able to see a bit further into the future of what's going to score when, but that's
very unique,
unpredictable and uncertain, because you can affect that track with some events. That was really cool. And there's lots of different layers between who controls the convention versus who controls the state, what that means, and then when each convention convenes, that's a lot of words, I realize that, you then have a really fast mini game where you basically can play 1 or 2 convention cards to alter that, and you might swing it in your favor, or you might just not be able to.
Well, and the cool thing about that part of the game is you're putting cards into what's called a back room, and so you have to kind of stack that deck for knowing what's going to score. That's a fun part of the game, because it adds another layer to that traditional card-driven game concept.
And I love the nuance in even that, because as the game progresses, and if you use all of those cards in your back room, at the beginning of a turn, you can put more in, but that hurts your hand size, so you might then be forced to play all of your cards or be in a card deficit, and then all those opponents' events hurt you more, because you don't want a bunch of opponent stuff in your back room, really. You can, but you don't want that. You want to put useful stuff in there. It was a really good game.
Yeah. Well, and to me, I felt like it was very polished.
Yes.
And as we spoke with John, it became evident that he has worked on this for, I think he said, almost a decade.
I think the idea has been churning for a decade, and it's really the last few years come to a head. But he had 2 games of it going, which I thought was impressive as well. But it was really, really good. I'm very much looking forward to that, and I think a lot of people are going to like what that offers as well.
I think both you and I felt like that was at least one of our top favorite games that we played.
Yeah.
But we played it in 90 minutes, and I think we got through 6 turns, correct? Out of the 7 possible.
Yes.
So we ultimately had played all the scoring cards and got the cards out, but to me, it's going to be 90 minutes to 120 minutes, so it's one and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah.
But it was real slick, very fast. So you got that Twilight Struggle feeling.
But in 1989 in there too.
Yeah, in half the time.
Yes.
Which was really good. Look forward to that, playing a real copy, but a great game.
So yeah, that was really awesome. John did a great job on that. I think after that we played a couple games. This is where the memory starts to get a bit higgledy-piggledy. So we played. I don't remember which we played first. Oh, we played Plum Island Horror
first. Yeah.
I think that's what we did. So you and I sat down with Herman Lutman,
the designer of the game.
And Kirk played, right?
ID Jester.
If you've watched his show, The War Room. We played a 4-player game of Plum Island Horror. And what was neat is, so we'd not played that before, so that was great to have the designer teach it. But we also, the scenario that we played is a new scenario that's coming up in the expansion. So we were kind of play testing that as well.
Yep.
And it's a shorter scenario. So I think that's one of the feedbacks that Herman's received.
I think it was 3 turns, and it took us about 90 minutes to 2 hours.
Yeah.
Right?
And normally the game can go 9 turns. And it's, they're trying to ratchet up the difficulty on it because, some people find it a bit too easy maybe, but it's a pulpy, not zombies, they're horrors.
Yeah.
But it's that running around collectively trying to use your abilities, find ammo and destroy the zombies and rescue people. I liked that was a focus of the game, was rescuing civilians as well.
Well, and it was fun because you had to move them down these tracks towards the docks or towards your helicopters that you could evacuate. That was really cool and unique. I thought the best part of the game, though, was you mostly pull cards to determine what happens.
Yes,
on almost everything. They're called fate cards. So you're drawing a card and you're looking for typically the number in the bottom right, but also sometimes they activate horrors or spawn new horrors. And then there's event cards as well that are never good, by the way.
Yeah.
But very challenging, very fun, pulpy. Love the names that he gives everything. All of the civilians are named after Herman's friends and or podcast, YouTube channels, content creators. So we had a chit in there.
Yes.
The player's financial aid, which I thought that was awesome. Had a great time with that game. I really enjoyed it. Can't wait to play it again. And it just looks great. Great custom dice, typical GMT production. And yeah, it was fun. I had a blast.
It was just a fun game.
Yep.
And I think that was kind of the afternoon. I think in the evening, we then played John Company.
Yes.
John Company's second edition from Whirligig Games.
A 6-player game.
Yes.
And we had 6 people at the table.
And I think only one of the people hadn't played before, but he had played the first edition.
Oh, yes.
And so
what was his name?
He was familiar enough with
the
concepts of the game.
I can't remember his name. Good guy, though.
Yeah. It was. I love that game. It's fun. It's a game of table talk and negotiation and lots of dice rolling and things that happen.
Happen to you.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of control in the game? Yes and no.
A little bit, but not as much as you probably want or need.
Which normally is something I don't like, but I just love the experience of doing the stuff in the game and the stuff that happens.
Well, it's a semi-cooperative experience.
Yeah.
You are trying to make the East India Company thrive and survive, but also reward you for your investment in it, either out in the field, in the colonies as you're placing orders and doing military campaigns, or back at home as the shareholders. And everybody has these offices, and it's fun. We've played it 5 or 6 times now.
Yeah.
And we've never seen the company do well.
I have, once.
Okay, well,
once.
I don't believe you, because I was not with you, and
it was great.
I can't imagine how that would have happened.
It's very different.
But it's a great time. There's a lot of negotiation and player interaction.
Yeah, it's so fun.
I made the comment, and I feel strongly about this. sometimes we get into the role-playing mode in those games, and everybody thinks that they can convince someone else with words to do what they want done.
Money talks in that game.
Money or cards talk in that game. And I think I made the statement, all right, it's time to put the words away and put some money on the table. And I think that needs to be remembered by everybody that plays that game. You're not going to convince me to do something that I don't want to do unless you tell me how it's going to benefit
Yeah,
me.
you can buy your way into a lot of stuff in that game,
Yeah.
that's for sure. Yeah, I loved that game. I enjoy playing it. You think you've got to have the right kind of people, though. I think for some people who might be more traditional Euro gamers who like to do stuff or have less randomness, they're going to hate it. Or
Not for everybody, for sure.
Yeah, you have to be into the social aspects of it, I think, as well. Yeah.
But it's fun. It's unique. It's
fun.
interesting. It's gorgeous. We actually ordered, when we got back to the room, we ordered 2 sets of custom John Company dice.
Yeah.
Right? Red with only 2 symbols on the entire dice, right?
Yeah.
The success
and then
failures.
Yes. They're either blank for failures. They have, I think they have like an X, and then they have like the East India symbol on them as well, something like that. They look great.
And the X would be a catastrophic failure, correct?
Or you could do the blank as the catastrophic. You could do it either way.
Okay.
I don't. We'll have to adjudicate that.
Yeah, but we ordered 10 dice.
Yeah, because I think the game's got 10 regular ones
on the way, so that'll be a nice little upgrade to our cool little pimped out 2nd edition copy.
Well, yeah, I think we've played it now. I've played it 6 or 7 times.
I think I played it 5 times, so you played it 6.
And it's a game that's going to continue in the rotation, so I'm happy to spend on a little bit of extra
3 or 4 hours.
Right? It's not like it's... I didn't buy that for a game that's going to sit on a shelf and never get played again.
I also thought our game moved along pretty well.
Yes.
I want to say 3.5 hours was what it took.
Yes.
Which I thought was pretty good.
And I think we crashed in turn 4 when we were about to go into turn 4, one of those.
It might have been another hour had we survived.
But that's also something that as you get more and more experience with the game, you know what you can move along, and you don't have to yell and scream about like insignificant things because you understand there's not really any value in that.
Right.
Also, we were extremely poor, and it was like, no one's got any money to spend. Okay, let's move on. Great.
Well, we kept failing our trade rolls. We couldn't get anything.
It was terrible. We were doing real well, and then about halfway through turn 2, things just was like
terrible.
Start fell off a cliff.
Yeah.
We rolled 4 events for 3 turns in a row.
So doing 4 bad things to us,
just
3 turns in a row, just horrific.
You can't come back from that, honestly. It was great fun though. So thanks everyone for playing. I appreciate that. That's for sure.
And that was like with Cullen and Russ, the new guy that I can't remember his name.
Yes.
And then you and me and who else played with us? I don't remember.
It was other Russ played.
Okay, Russ
Wheatley.
Yes, Wheatley. So yeah, thanks for playing that with us. That was a good time.
And then,
so that was Tuesday, pretty much, right?
That was Thursday.
Oh, Thursday, sorry. And then every night, just so you know, we would hurry back to the room, get there at about 11:15, and I'm an idiot, so I typed up a summary on my phone for the blog of the entire day's events, and then it posted like right around midnight. And but I like doing that, sharing what we did, and they've garnered several hundred views apiece, and we'll continue to do so over the next couple of months. So if you're interested, you can read all those details on the blog as well.
So then Friday morning we had our coin teach and play event. We've run it, 3 years in a row now.
Yep. This was the first year we only did 2 games.
Yeah,
at the same time. You know, normally we do 2 games over 2 different sessions.
Yeah, we did 1 session of it with 2 games going concurrently. You ran Fire in the Lake.
Yep.
And I ran Andy and Abyss. So we were playing, some of the ones that I feel like there's a few smaller ones, and sometimes we've done those. I think I did Cuba Libre last year. But some of these ones that are a bit bigger, and I think getting people into those ones, that can be a good thing that we can do
Yeah.
for people as part of that event. So that was really fun. Some returning faces, some new faces.
Well, at my table, the 4 that played, and I had a full 4 people, one of them had played with the bots only. One other guy had played one, like, 4-player game. The other 2 players were pretty much brand new to Fire in the Lake.
Yeah.
Not necessarily brand new to Coin. Ken was one of those.
Yeah.
But it was great to see the players do exactly the arc that we had many, many years ago, where you're like, what the hell do I do? And what are all these special ops and or commands and special activities, and how do I make it work? What lever do I pull to get this to happen, and what button do I push to get this benefit?
Yeah, but pulling the levers and testing out, probing what my stuff does, that's always fun to see.
But seeing people, the first turn, terrible. Nobody has any idea.
Yeah.
And then second turn, people are like starting to figure it out. Okay, I need to do this and this. And then they kind of hammer that. And I warned them at the beginning of the game, in a three coup card game, capabilities are not that important.
Yeah.
Unless you get one in like the first couple of hands, because you're not going to get the utility out of them for giving up your turn. So we discussed that. Therefore, I don't think anybody took any capabilities, because there was AAA already out for the NBA.
Yeah.
But they did not take as many events. I was proud of that, because
Good for them.
I think
Good
new
for
players take too many events. But they actually did really well. They denied people actions by doing lem-ops. It was really good. And ultimately the MVA, everybody was negative, but the MVA was negative less than everybody else and won.
Yeah.
I don't know who won in your game. I don't remember.
So it was hard to say. We had a couple people on 0, but then because we didn't get through the last kind of propaganda round, but
Yeah.
the cartels were in a very, very commanding position, or would have been going into the next propaganda round. So
Yeah.
we didn't really have a winner per se, but it's probably the cartels. But it was that was a wonderful game as well. I love Andy and Abyss.
Yeah.
I've played that a kind of gross amount of times, and
Mostly on Rally the Troops.
yeah, and that's why I kind of wanted to do it for this event, because
Yeah.
and I told him afterwards, I'm like, look, if you like this, you can play it for free on rallythetroops.com, and you can play it with me.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to become experienced at it and play a bunch of bad games, but get better.
Yeah.
Because you can do it asynchronously, you can do a lot at the same time, and that way you just gain that experience with it, so you can become a better player if you want to.
Yeah.
I think that's an invaluable resource.
But everyone knows we love the Coin series. We actually brought People Power, but didn't get to it. It's only 3-player, but we did bring also Irregular Conflict Series Volume 1, Vijay Nagara.
Yes.
We didn't get to that either. That's 3-player. That's a fantastic game.
Yeah, we played that at Noble Night last year, and damn, that game is
So good.
top shelf, really.
But I do really enjoy doing those Coin series events. I think next year we're going to talk about I think we're going to do something else. Maybe we won't do a Coin series. We'll do some other...
Yeah, do some other,
game.
maybe introductory war game or something we can introduce people to.
Yeah, Time of Crisis might be a good one, only because that's
It could
always
be,
a good game. But anyway, that was our morning. That went till around noon.
Yeah, that was 9 till noon.
And then...
I think after that we got with Herman Lutman again, and we played
The Struggle for Zorn, the Red Blight.
Yeah.
From Blue Panther Games. A fantasy war game. And it is a war game because that's all you're doing is fighting.
Oh, it's just only combat.
Yeah, you're moving your units who are all unique, have movement values, attack values, ranged combat, special abilities, and you're trying to defeat the Red Blight as they are moving down the board. I had a blast with that. We played, how long did we play? Maybe 3 or 4 rounds, give or take. And then we had other things going on we had to get to, but...
Well, yeah, so we went from that. I think we played his new Alpha Zeds game that he's designing with Ryan Heilman, which is...
Coming from Trick or Treat Studios.
Yeah.
Who is at least started as a costume mask.
Yeah, they're like a Halloween company,
for Halloween.
But they've got a bunch of those mass market IP games.
I think they did Chainsaw Massacre, and
they've got a Halloween game and all sorts.
But this one was called Alpha Zeds, and it used the system that is used in Magnificent Style.
Yeah.
Where you're moving units or columns up these different rows, trying to reach the final objective and survive all the survive, because you're playing as the zombies, which was kind of unique.
Yeah, you're the zombie, and you're trying to run up, and you'll get your horde to follow you with that push your luck element of, like, if I go too far, I got to go all the way back if I don't bring them up. That was fun. It was a neat little game. Went by at a good clip.
I think we played 2 or 3 turns, but the thing I like about it, and once again, that in Magnificent Style, is the action dice mechanic. You're rolling 3 dice. They're symbols, and those symbols equate to what you can do that turn, and you have to assign those to your Alpha Zeds, and that's what they can do. So it's fun, it's interesting, a little bit of randomness, it's light.
Yeah, but it's almost not necessarily a party game, but it's the game you play at a party. You have your friends over.
Yeah.
You're playing a game. It's just fun. It's that zombie theme that you're gonna play at Halloween or just on a weekend.
I actually really enjoyed that game. I would love to get a final copy once they.
I'm sure we will
get around to it. But so then Friday evening.
So Friday evening we had our Nations and Cannons role-playing game event. So if you don't know what Nations and Cannons is, if you're new here,
it's awesome.
Nations and Cannons is a historical module of the American Revolutionary War and surrounding periods for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. It is published by Flagbearer Games, and I think it came out in 2022.
Like 2-3 years ago.
We played it we bought it in 22 at Gen Con, and we played it in 23 and now 24, I think. They're fulfilling eventually a Kickstarter for like more source material, so there's more coming from it, but it's a D&D 5th edition historical module. So you play as like Patriot spies and local militiamen and all sorts of different backgrounds. And you're going on adventures and completing missions and doing things, during the AMREV, basically, is what we've been running. So last year we had one. It was the first time we'd ever run it, so we just ran one table with 5 players, and it was really neat. I think everyone had a good time. I really enjoyed it. It was a blast. And so this year, I can't tell you how many messages I got of like, oh, can I join? I'm like, I don't know, because I don't know if it's going to be terrible or not, because it's my first time, it's everyone else's first time. And so I wasn't comfortable of like just doing it again and again and again. We sort of have that much time as well. But so this year we did 2 tables of it so we could have more players, and we ended up with 7 players. I think you had 4 at your table, I had 3 at mine.
Yep.
And we were able to kind of run 2 different types of adventures in 2 loosely different settings.
Well, but they were
locales.
They were the same area. It was in Boston.
Yeah. And
ultimately, we brought both tables together at the end for the last hour and a half for a huge battle.
Yeah, which was really awesome, because your table, you tell them about your table.
So our table was, our charge was to break out 10 colonial sailors who understood how to sail a ship from a local block or prison because they had been captured, then commandeer the HMS Avenger that was at port, pilot that ship across the bay to the Dorchester Heights, and then provide artillery support to your team that ultimately was to assault that fort. So that's what we were trying to do, and it was a blast. They stole the keys from the guard or appropriated them. They were a little tipsy, and then they went and got copies made at Paul Revere's Tinsmith, by the way, which was fun to put that in there.
Yep.
They came back, they dropped the keys. The guy thought he dropped them, so they got away with that. Then they broke into the prison using the key. The door was open, by the way. They didn't really even need the key.
That's the best.
and the key actually was for the other side that had some other people in it, but we didn't find those people, and that's fine. But they broke them out. We went down to the docks. We saw a Man Mountain, a Scottish Highlander, who was leading a small garrison to protect the boats. And then all of a sudden, the other 3 boats that were moored detonated, blew up.
Oh.
Because there was a concurrent siloed mission of other Patriot spies who were to sabotage those 3 boats so that you couldn't be pursued as they moved the HMS Avenger out. But then they had to fight this mountain of a man who had, I think he had 86 hit points.
Yeah.
And he literally did about 30 points of damage with his claymore that he used. He didn't use guns, but they ultimately dispatched him and his crew, got the ship going, and arrived to provide very powerful cannon
and
support.
much needed support. So
Yes.
on my table, I had 3 players, and we had a kind of a fighter type and a couple of more roguely types. And we were their mission was they were kind of paddling a canoe up a creek, and they had to ambush a supply train that was going up to Fort Dorchester on Dorchester Heights. And so they were it was much more about being stealthy and sneaking around. So they kind of set up an ambush, ambushed this little column, killed enough of them where the other ones kind of surrendered, and so we had the prisoner dilemma, which was fun. But
didn't they get them drunk and lock them in the?
That was some different ones.
Oh,
It was great. So the ambush was very much like we had Bill, and he was playing a preacher. He was a French Catholic preacher, and so he had to disguise the fact that he was Catholic because the Crown they're all Anglican, Church of England. But he was on the road, like, I'm lost. What am I doing? I need to get to here. Can I get a ride with you? And they're like, you're going the wrong way. And so he's trying to bluff them with this speech, and then all the smoke erupts and guns fire from the bushes. It was wonderful.
So it was an ambush, but it was a violent ambush in the end.
Yeah, in the end. And so they ended up, they killed a couple of them, sent a couple of them, paroled them, and sent them down the opposite way. Put on the red coats and the militia uniforms, and then I gave them a cannon, and I gave them a cart with a bunch of barrels of gunpowder and ammunition. And instead of taking it with them to the fort, they spiked the cannon and set the cart on fire.
What a wasted opportunity!
I tried to dissuade them from it, but they're like, no, we don't want that to go into the British hands. I'm like, no, they're in your hands. It's fine. But so they rolled up to this fort and then bluffed their way into it. They're like, oh, we were ambushed. And then those guys were like, well, where the hell's all the supplies? This was supposed to last us 2 weeks. And so they had to kind of calm the garrison down. The garrison was it was very under-strengthed because the rest of the British garrison was marching to there. And so they had lots of intrigue and subterfuge going on. Our fighter kind of murdered a couple of them. They locked a few away. They got a few of them drunk. They pretended. Bill convinced some of the soldiers that he was here to court-martial the captain, and that he was under orders from General Howe.
Nice.
And after promising them extra rations of rum and giving a rousing speech, they arrested the captain, put him in shackles, and tossed him in one of the blockhouses. It was pretty funny. And then all of a sudden, this massive relief column of British shows up, and my players at that point were starting to wet themselves out of fear. And that's when the HMS Avengers showed up, and all of your players came and sat at our table. This big wooden ship that we've got in the back showed up under the bluffs, and the cannon fire starts coming in.
Yeah.
And the shredded a lot of the British column. It was awesome.
That was fun.
Big battle going on, and then in true us fashion, we kind of threw in some extra elements of magic.
Well, it's got to be memorable.
Yes.
So
that was memorable enough, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's so awesome! We get to play together." But then, there was a big storm brewing at that point, thunder and lightning, and there was a massive green conflagration over Boston, and it was basically General Howe and his cultish compatriots had summoned a kraken. So a massive giant kraken showed up and attacked the HMS Avenger. So those guys who thought they were all big and powerful shooting their cannons, wiping out this British column, are all of a sudden
wetting themselves.
And so then, with the fort secure enough, the guys in the fort kind of helped. They went down and tried to help relieve it, and it was a bit of a chaotic battle. Everyone fighting for their lives. So the players who were in the fort took down the flagpole, and they carried it down the bluffs, down a switchback to a tied-up longboat that they found, and then ramming speed navigated through the tentacles of the Kraken, and then they worked together really well and assisted each other very efficiently with some additional blessing-style spells.
That was a cool part, that he had blessed them.
Yes, he gave a rousing speech and did that same spell effect of like, let's do this, boys. They're gonna die. Mm-hmm. Be brave. And they got together and they all stabbed the Kraken in its eye with this big giant steel flagpole, who then kind of thrashing around in the mortar reeled back. The steel pole
pointing straight up,
which acts as a lightning rod for the giant storm that struck the lightning pole straight down into the Kraken's eye and into his face and brain. And the cannons on the ship had done a lot of damage to him. Ed, who played a barbarian, he'd hacked off one of the tentacles as well on his own. That was awesome. There was all sorts of shenanigans going on with like trying to use the ship's anchor chain.
Yeah. That weighed hundreds of pounds, by the way.
That had not gone well. So when the Kraken had retreated and swam away and was effectively defeated, only one of the players was inside of its mouth, who now resides in Davy Jones' locker. The barbarian also perished. He went down swinging, but
did he fail his last death save?
He did.
Okay.
Yes, and he got crushed by that one last tentacle before the Kraken died, which was a sad but valiant effort on his part. So we lost 2 of our 7 players, but you know,
in the last battle.
Yeah, the context of the story is that it was they captured that little kind of fort on top of the Dorchester Heights. And then a day or 2 later, Henry Knox shows up with the Ticonderoga guns, and then basically ends the siege of Boston at that point with the British surrender. So it was, we add the fantasy elements to it, but it's a really fun way to kind of work within the space of AmRev that isn't just, let's line my guys up and you just shoot a lot, I guess. So it was wonderful. We had a good time. We played till like 11 p.m.
And one thing I would say, there are artillery rules and different things for that. We kind of fudged it because ultimately in the end we were there for the narrative. Yes. Great time. But the rules for that system are very interesting. They deal with a lot of different aspects. Yeah, that can be used. The rules are very good. And yeah, like you said, if I was playing a campaign of it and I was, it's important to have a bit more balance maybe, and if someone's going to invest in certain skills, I want them to pay off mechanically. Right. But yeah, it's a one-shot at a convention, so sometimes you just streamline certain things. You're doing it to have fun. Yeah, and I feel like everyone did. It was a great time. Surprises left, right, and center, and it was great to see on the table as well. One thing that we need to make sure we comment about or tell the story, because I think it's a fantastic story. So you created the concept for the adventure. We kind of together decided we're going to come together and bring the parties together, and we were going to insert the Kraken. Yeah. You didn't have a Kraken miniature at your house. I didn't. And we didn't have time to buy one, so you brought these 2 little, very weak and small tentacles. And we were like, crap, we're not going to have anything good. It's just going to not look as cool on the table. But, to our surprise, there was a comic book store in the convention area. We went to the comic book store on Thursday morning and found a really cool octopus-style, big-eyed miniature that was holding Doctor Strange for all. Yeah, it's like a figurine. Yeah, and it was a big figurine. So we bought it, and we were like checking it out, trying to see, can you get Doctor Strange off? And ultimately got it back to the room, and you were able to peel Doctor Strange out of the tentacles, and it looked good still. And that was really a highlight when you put that thing on the table. It was really fun to see that. And because whenever you start, everyone's playing this game, and then you start, throwing bits and pieces of like, oh,
this weird stuff's starting to happen, or there's a storm a brewing. Some of our more veteran players are like, oh, or if someone makes a joke about the Kraken every time there's a ship.
Demons!
And so we actually have them show up, and they're like, what? It's great.
And we did, remember last year we had a Wendigo.
Yeah, we had a Wendigo that showed up.
So we're going to have to dig deep into the lore and legend of North America for our next session and figure out what we can, maybe Sasquatch or
then there's like
something.
Unlimited things you can do. Or one year we'll have to do nothing, and that's the surprise.
Yeah.
Like,
just straight game.
Oh, it was so mundane.
Yeah. But I do like that system. We actually backed the most recent Kickstarter that added like a gazetteer and a source book or something.
Yeah, it's like it's got a ton of source material, which will be really helpful for us, putting kind of stuff like that together. And they have the more folklore magical elements. Are like, they're optional, but you say we're not doing them, then you throw them into surprising players. That's how you.
But a blast. We had a great time. Everybody enjoyed it. I would say one thing about you is funny because I came over and sat, as our group came over to your table, and I was still involved, but I wasn't. And you were like dancing around and doing your weird voices. That's just actually your normal voice. But you were sweating profusely.
It was very warm in
very warm in that room, and it was a great performance, almost as if you were a preacher evangelizing. I was pretty impressed. So you did a great job. That was fun, and really had a good time playing that for 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, I really enjoy that, and I have the benefit of all the bad guys sound really good because they're all the English royalists, and I can play to the horrendous English stereotypes, which is pretty funny. Yeah.
Whereas if I did that, it would just be insulting.
it would just, it's not the same. Like when I do my American accents, it's awful.
Right.
It's not
water.
Yeah. But I loved it. I love doing that. We'll do another one next year. So that was Friday night, and then Saturday we did kind of some big gaming.
Yeah, we only got 2 games in, but big games that lasted a long time.
Yeah, so we kind of had a 8:30 a.m., 9 a.m. game of Here I Stand. We played that 6-player. We had a couple of new people, a couple of experienced people, and then us who played it a good amount of times. And I got to play the Protestants, which I don't think I've ever done.
I don't think you've ever played them before. Yeah, I've played them before. I played them before twice.
And then you played the Papacy, which I think was new to you.
Yep, I'd never played the Pope.
And then we had 2 of our experienced players. They played a couple times. They did Habsburgs in France, and then Bill and Joel hadn't played it before. They did England and the Ottomans. And we wrapped it up. The game went 4 turns. The Papacy won. Congratulations! At the end of turn 4. Yeah, it was a really cool and once again unique game. Every game I've played of it, different stuff happens, and it's a testament to the design of the game. It's a testament to the players of the game, and I love doing what we're doing.
The way the game works that is so cool and creates these opportunities is those cards.
Oh yeah,
if the cards don't come out at the right time. You were the Protestants. The Smalkaldic came out in the first hand where you can't use it.
Yeah.
It went back into the deck and it never came out again because it's a mandatory event.
And it would have happened at the end of turn 4, but you had already won by then.
But I love that part of it. There were, the piracy card came out in the first turn.
Came out very early, and that totally changes the dynamic of the game.
So all of a sudden the Ottomans are a huge force in the Eastern Mediterranean, not only on the land, but now on the sea, and everybody was kind of peeing down our legs, trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do? So we ganged up on them.
A bit too much in the end.
A bit too much, knocking him down. All the while, you and I are battling it out on the religious war. I burned 3 of your
My goodness,
debaters.
my debaters were terrible.
And unfortunately,
funny.
I was using Eck, and more often than not, you drew your 1 guys, which was fortuitous for me.
Even the time I rolled it, I got my 2 guy. You rolled 4 hit.
It dominated him.
Can't. What are you gonna do?
But that back and forth is always fun, and frankly, a lot of things hinge on how that goes. And I granted England his divorce early on. I did not excommunicate anybody, which was something I wanted to do. I was thinking about it, but ultimately, in the end, I made some decisions about I got to use that card because that was my 4 ops card, and I needed to do some things. And ultimately, I did a lot of Basilica building. I did a lot of counter-Reformation burning books, and I did debating.
Yeah.
That's what I really focused on, but it was fun. It was a blast. At one time, the Habsburgs were going very well and very
powerful. The
powerful.
French were very strong too.
The French they almost won, and so you kind of dogpile who is in the lead.
Yeah, there's always an element to that, but usually in doing that, someone else fills the power vacuum, and then it's really hard to tilt the other way, and so someone's going to win. But I love going to these big conventions where there's lots of players because we can get in something like that.
Yeah.
It was really enjoyable. I always like playing Here I Stand.
Well, in the game, 4 turns, about 75 minutes a turn. We did not break for lunch, and we were done at 2:30.
Yeah.
So 5 hours, 5+ hours, we got through 4 turns. I think that's pretty good.
And it's one of those things where it would have gone probably 1 more turn at most.
Right.
So we would have, and I don't know if I've ever seen a game go beyond 5 or 6 turns.
Most of the games we played have been 5 and 6.
Yeah,
it goes to 7, but
it goes to 9.
Oh, does it go to 9? Okay.
But like,
see, we've never seen that.
In a fantasy world, it does.
Right.
Or if you're playing like the late game scenario,
or maybe if all the
there.
players are good and have played their factions many times. Maybe.
But I like that. We've played it enough where like, okay, I can budget at most 6 to 8 hours. And even if it goes long, that's how long it'll be.
Right.
Whereas I think when we were first playing it, it's like, this is an all-dayer. This is a 10 or 12-hour game, which is very different. But
one of the other hallmarks I want to point out is during the first round, the Habsburgs had Magellan circumnavigate the globe, which was amazing. And then his conquistadors rolled really well and conquered the Incas, all in the same.
Yeah.
So like all of a sudden he got like 6 victory points.
The Habsburgs rolled so well on those explorations and conquests. It was crazy. He just racked up points so quickly. It was like, whoa.
Didn't roll as well in the military conquests. Like the French kicked him out of Metz. That was really dramatic. He was struggling over in the east, although he had taken Budapest and
but he lost the.
He lost it, and then he tried to attack Rome, and he ultimately took Rome from me. Was it twice?
The French took it once,
and then he took it once, and then I took it back, and then he took it back again.
He tried to take it from you, and you just kicked him out.
Yeah.
You relieved the siege.
Crazy game, but it shows to me the depth of that game and some of the uncertainty about how things are going to happen.
Yeah.
And it reinforced to me that the game is it's amazing.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite games of all time. It's probably definitely my favorite multiplayer game.
There's no doubt. It's amazing.
It's like that and Fire in the Lake.
Yep.
It's so good. Yeah, it takes a long time, but I've played it enough where we can kind of help to move it along.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to sit down and get lost in chatting about everything and humming and hawing. It's like, let's go, let's keep it going.
And that's okay if you're planning to do that all day. And we had hoped to play some other games later on, so finishing in 5+ hours was actually great.
Really good.
And very enjoyable.
And satisfying for everyone.
Yes.
I think everyone had a good time with that too. So then after that, we went to dinner with Herman Luttman. Really nice. That was really enjoyable. Like hanging out with him. He's a really good guy. Very knowledgeable about the gaming industry and picking his brain about game design and stuff. It was really fun.
Well, it was more of a early dinner, late lunch because we skipped lunch. But then we came back, and the final thing of the evening, and we were both bushed. It was to me, it was obvious that we weren't going to make it very long. I think about 6:30 we started a game of Burning Banners from
Yes.
Compass Games, designed by Christopher Moeller and illustrated by him.
Yes.
This is a fantasy-style hex encounter war game.
Yes.
Fairly light, but you are moving units around the board, doing combats, casting spells, fighting monsters in their lairs to gain treasure, and I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved what we did. I played the orcs, you played the shadow.
I was the Army of the Night.
Army of the Night.
I'm like vampire ladies.
They were the Eastern Empire and the dwarves, the Oathborn. We ultimately got crushed because the orcs are hard because you gotta plan ahead because they don't get money in the traditional way. They have to loot and burn the cities, which the victory condition was hold a certain amount of cities. So that's a balance. And then your units just were fairly weak.
I had misplayed my faction in that I should have spent a turn or two building up strength. I just went out and started messing around and just got everyone killed, and I was like, oh no. So I just had to really start from ground zero.
Yeah.
The game doesn't allow that because it's very short.
I really enjoyed that game, but the player aid needed some extra elements. There's a lot of iconography that wasn't necessarily shown.
Yeah, there's a lot of iconography that's explained in the rules, but it is not on the play aid, even though there's some of the iconography on the play aid.
It was odd.
There's little bits and pieces like that that were frustrating, and the rules are simple.
Not overly complex
once you
at
learn
all.
them, but the rulebook's pretty big, and it's kind of laid out in an odd way where I bought a copy.
Yeah,
because I really liked what we were doing, and it is beautiful. I bought a copy because I want to be able to sit there and memorize it and learn it and have it because it was really fun, and it played quickly. We played 4 players, and we played about 2 hours, and it was a six turn scenario.
Yeah.
Okay. Because part of me was like, oh, we can play up to 6. That sounds really cool. That would include a significant amount of downtime. So I'm a bit more hesitant about doing it 6-player.
We want to do a 2-player game to get... And the cool thing about it, though, there are like, 10 different scenarios?
Oh, it's more than that.
And they're all different. They're different player counts.
Different player counts, different map configurations.
Yep, different factions.
Faction configurations.
So we're going to try to do another 2-player game, but frankly, I really enjoyed that game. It was fun.
Yeah.
And unique, and is based on the game Divine Right.
Is it okay?
That was his inspiration.
He said that. Okay.
Now it's could be different. I don't know because I haven't played Divine Right, but I know that was his inspiration.
Which Divine Right has that Kickstarter coming out from Worthington, so you could get that too.
I checked the number on it. They had like 108,000. That's a lot for a Worthington Kickstarter.
I think they have close to 1,000 backers on that.
Wow.
And then they'll have it in stock. So good for them. So that's what it reminded me of a little bit was Wizard Kings.
Yes.
Where you've got your little plebs running around doing stuff that's cool, but you also have your heroes.
Yep.
Most of them are spellcasters, and you have this hand of magic spells. So, moving hex to hex and doing some attacks, but it's like, boom, here's my magic card. Boom, here's my cool spell.
Yeah.
Going down a lightning storm, doing this, that, and the other. That was really fun as well.
Oh, it was great.
But yeah,
it's like Wizard Kings, but not blocks. Make sure that's clear.
But it's units and then like a big guy who does a bunch of cool stuff.
And really, one of the best parts of the game is the production is really, really well done.
It might be one of Compass's, if not Compass's,
finest.
One of nicest looking games.
Yeah.
They really put a lot into it.
The graphics are amazing. The board itself is just amazingly beautiful.
And like the counters are huge. They're all really nicely pre-rounded. Not a single like nub or anything left over.
And then you've got a recessed player faction board that those counters stack in.
Yeah.
And are kind of kept from going everywhere.
Which honestly doesn't fulfill that much of a function with that little recess.
Sure.
But it shows that they went the extra mile and put that extra love into it.
It's just kind of cool.
Credit to Compass, they did a really good job on that.
And Christopher is he's an amazing artist. And
yeah, like that was his profession, right?
I would guess, because of the commercial success of that game and now the critical comments I've heard about it, the good stuff, I wouldn't doubt if they wouldn't look at doing another kind of expansion to it. And
I would desperately want them to.
Yeah, so looking forward to tabling that one again. But that was our first play, and
Yeah.
we played it with Bill and Cullen.
And kind of like you said, we're going to play it 2-player and then do kind of more formal review of it.
Yep.
But 2-player, it's going to go real quick.
Much quicker.
Even if you go the whole 9 turns, I do my stuff, I do your stuff. Like, the pace of it is much more traditional in that way.
And the downtime I thought was enough and significant enough. I kind of got lost in what was going on, partly because I was trying to learn the game and read the rules as I was not playing and waiting for you guys. But I think the next time a 4-player game might feel different as well, because I'll know things.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like I kept my nose in the rule book and the player aid, trying to understand, how does this spell work and how does, my abilities work.
And some of the downtime I'm spent there, like, assessing, okay, what's my next move's going to be? Trying to predict what he's going to do. So there's some element of looking around on the board and stuff too, but it was...
But it's cool.
With 5 and 6, it might become a bit cumbersome with the downtime. But yeah, that was the last game we played, right?
But I am looking forward to Divine Right because of that. I hope Divine Right is even something similar to that. It'll be amazing. But that was our final game of the night, and it was about 9 o'clock.
Yes.
I thought, we're going to get back to the room and, get a little bit of... We didn't go to bed till 12:30.
No, that's very normal for me.
we talked, we chatted, we ordered some dice, I did my writing, and then 12:30 we went to bed.
I bought a copy of Here I Stand. I bought a copy of Burning Banners.
Yep.
Because I'm a psycho. But it was a wonderful time. Yeah, it was.
I'm glad to be going home. I'm tired.
It was. Also, there was a concurrent book convention.
Yeah.
Which hasn't been there before. And I overheard some people saying there were 700 attendees for that as well. And normally conventions go through Sunday. Theirs ended Saturday night. And so they were all checking out Sunday morning. And it was miserable to get out of the hotel.
Well, four elevators for all those people.
I thought we'd got lucky, but then I had to go up and do a second trip. And I waited probably 20, 25 minutes for an elevator.
Yeah.
It was a nightmare getting out.
I think I could have taken one more bag, but I was pretty loaded
I still would have had to go back up though.
Got it.
And then
it was crazy.
Yeah, I had to make a second trip because of the stupid key.
That was the only bad part. I think that was the only bad part of the weekend.
Yeah.
Food was great. Games were great. Fellowship was great. Friendship was good. I had a good time. Good to see people again. And I want this to continue growing because I want to see new people coming. So if you even have an inkling of interest, please consider coming next year. It's always in the spring. Last year it was like late April. This year it was the 1st of May.
Yeah.
So please consider coming. We'd love to play some games with you. One comment I want to make, and then I'll shut the heck up and we can move on. I feel badly when people come and they want to play games and we can only play so many games.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We've got so I know David is one that we did play a game with him.
I played Andy and Abyss with David.
But I wanted him to be in another game, but it's just so hard.
And I think next year I might schedule some of our official events, but like, hey, we want to play Here I Stand, maybe put it on a schedule. I want to play a Successors, I want to play a Burning Banners. Maybe put it on a schedule so that we can, or we might, even if it's a private one, where we can more
but ultimately we go and we want to play the games and we want to meet new people and we also want to cover the games. We didn't really talk a whole lot about Tattered Flags, the new Herman Lutman game coming up. We did a video about it, but it looks really good. Yeah. Greek Tragedies coming up from Blue Panther. That'll be in that video. There's a bunch going on.
Yeah, they got a lot of stuff coming up.
But we also do that kind of stuff, so it's a lot. So, had a great time. That's all I'll say.
Is a game-playing convention.
Absolutely.
So, if you're one of the people who gets into my YouTube comments and says, "Oh, I can't find anyone to play with," or like, "Oh, I wish more people played," if you're in the Midwest, make the drive to Ohio. Yeah. Come next year, book your tickets, come and play all week.
Well, we had people from Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania.
There was a guy from shoot, he was going to South Carolina afterwards.
Okay.
But I think he was from somewhere even further away.
But, Ken's from Tennessee, Herman's from Tennessee.
Yeah.
So 3, 4, 5 hour drive will get you there. I know that's a lot. I get it. But it's an opportunity to play these big war games with
You're going to have 3 or 4 days of solid war gaming.
Yes.
You're going to get it.
Yep.
Do it.
So come join us next year. We're definitely planning on going again. So I had a blast.
Yes, I had a wonderful time. I love Buckeye Game Fest. It's one of my favorite conventions that we go to. We did 11 total games.
Amazing.
And a bunch of them were new. A bunch of them we were kind of ones were old replays that we're familiar with, which is also nice. A bit of the familiar, a bit of the new, and it was a wonderful time. I had a great time.
Me too.
So appreciate everyone for sticking around with us on this extremely bumpy I-70.
This is the worst interstate in the United States.
It might be.
I'm sorry. I feel bad. You guys are going to get sick watching the video. It wasn't bad until we hit Indiana. I'm going to be honest. This is terrible.
I don't know. Is this funded by the Fed or by the state government?
Federal government. Interstates typically are federal, but the states take care of them. But they get money from the feds.
Anyway,
yeah.
Thanks for sticking with us. I've been Alexander for theplayers8.com.
And I'm Grant.